This first poem, when I was first dating my soon-to-be ex-husband, his dad is a scientist, and he was trying to explain neutrinos to me and how they're everywhere and how tiny they are. And he said, it's like throwing tennis balls at stars. That's how, small they are. And I always loved that image, so I tried to work it into a poem. And it's never worked. I started this poem because of that, but it also doesn't appear in this poem. So, that was the impetus. So, what I know about gravity. Gravity is the weakest force, but I'm told it's omnipresent. A great matter-creating eye that reaches every dark corner of the universe and the bright ones too. Everywhere, objects are pulling toward one another. Effects are felt at infinite distances. There is no end to this. In the next room, my husband's leg triangles out of his sheets. He sleeps alone. We have been like this for years. Parallel lines running through a house, a deep fear of tangents. I read once that atoms are mostly space. Even the smallest units of mass are only loosely gathered. This means that the cohesion of my skin, myself, is merely a trick of the eye. I am but an optical blur. And in truth, thousands of subatomic particles pass between the atoms of my body unscathed. Why then this desire for holding? What then of this pulling? In the dark of his room, I make out the moles constellating his back. I pretend to remember the feel of them under my hand, what it was to lie close to him, the meaning of the word wife. I'm hoping for a wave of tenderness, some remnant sign of our coupling. But I've come to realize distance isn't simply a matter of proximity. Newton theorized that particles would forever travel in a straight line if it weren't for gravitational force. Tethering is what keeps us here. The suspension of the sun and the moon and the galaxy and time and space, delicate little beads hung on gravity's web. But I think physics might be wrong. There might be places gravity can't reach. This bedroom has never been good to us. In the deep of the night, he'd float out of sleep, place billions of atoms between the two of us. A microcosm of gravity in reverse, a single unit of mass drifting from the other. I know what it's like to sleep beside the ghost of a man. I know what it's like to wake lonely in the middle of the night. The marriage between gravity and the ocular tricks me. Take, for instance, a star's life. In that dark sea, dust and gas are pulled together, bound and burned, each particle so dependent on the other they appear as a single unit, a great blaze of gravity, some bright, hopeful thing. But beyond the stars, beyond gravity's desire, physics postulates a universe in expanse. Stars, planets, particles, bodies then too, pull away from each other. Anti-gravity, energy the eye can't bear to understand, the dark truth we try not to see. My married friends ask about the separation, and I don't know how to answer them. They're hoping I'll say alcohol or middle age, a patterned behavior, things they think they can protect against. But really, it was small steps in opposite directions, until we were two people, alone in different rooms. Our nights were like this, bodies beside each other, eating dinner on a couch. Who can be blamed for that? What it is to dissolve a marriage. Two particles released from gravity, keenly aware of all that space. The next poems are in a little bit of a different direction. They're inspired by nature and kind of the violence inherent in nature, and thus the violence in ourselves and how it's translated into language. So, poem. I waned, forgot to speak, and from that breach lost remembering. So I built this aperture upon the turtle's beak, calculating the devotion between origin and replica. All but the image conceded to this process. How one resolves the self. how the turtle emerges brackish and muddled, how his fanning paw rushes for the mouth. Figure of what? This next poem, when I have a hard time generating ideas, I like to just look up words in the dictionary and like stuff them into a poem together. And I couldn't get the word Floridian out of my head, and this kind of just like fell out of my head as a result of just thumbing through the dictionary. To dismantle the self. The way a snake bird submerges in water. The eye's promise is a heresy. You hope for an unhinged jaw in a dark death cave, but 3,000 miles into this Floridian coast, that fish is speared. What is it we troll for? Even the ugly fruit finds splendor on the plate. Crow. This poem starts with bewildered. Two crows fixed in the yard, devotion of the sable gullet, a scatter of joint and feather. This poem admits in form. We all scratch at the page, burdened of dictionary and thumb. Nothing is predetermined. This poem ends with grain. One letter yoked to another, swift rise of the caw. There is no need for needling now, just a thrum of beak and maw. On the curiosity of the lake trout. This night's bird cry, two chords hewn and vibrating. Is that what marks ripples on the water? I am swimming, 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 mirror reflection of the gull, concentric circles stratified. My mouth wonders the taste of feathers, the parting wind, heavy downbeat rustle. Have I always been so hungry? This life, a tease of web. This next one is, the title's taken from the opening of William Carlos Williams' Spring and All. And in that poem, it's largely about the imagination and the power of the imagination and creating an image in somebody's head. So I kind of take it from that as a way to kind of like create a dialogue between my work and his on the image. The quarters were unmistakable. We went about readying the fluid, but it was unusual how we administered it. A store of sac-like glands, the margins of carapace, regurgitated fluids. The first thing to go was the mouth. Two deep grooves, glandular openings, a formation of letters, a great babbling forth. The image was used to inflict the assault. It was all too efficient. And then this last set is actually a set of love poems. And the first few I'm just going to read, but the whole set is meant to mark like the shifts in a relationship. So the first three I'll kind of just read as a whole, and then I'll kind of explain the last few. So the first three are kind of about the first stages of a relationship when you're excited, and it's largely about lust. So the first three poems are a little lustful. June. The trees are so deep in their sex this morning, pollen thickened and swole. Nothing is settling. Even the petal's curve is plush. When the rain comes, it will fall like kisses over both our bodies. July. Because the air is ripe and wet, because the raspberries blush on the bush, because clover seeded the field, because rabbits bed the grass, I am reminded of the way hair whorls on your stomach, tiny nests on which to lay my head. August. After the rain, the whole thing becomes sodden. The drunk weight of peonies, the exhaustion of grass, the way the tree's branches are totally breathless. And yet, from somewhere in this sleep, the night's air stirs, a wing beat, a song thrush, a cicada's lust. A leaf upturns, its underside soft and white as your belly. This next one is a little bit about insomnia and a lover who has insomnia, and then also what you would give up for the person you love, like the things that you would give to them. September, October. In this bed, your body splays over fields of flowers, yet sleep is a chimera to you. During the rut, males engage in frequent and furious sparring battles. Nothing settles. Your breath is fraught, and your mind is a vast and raging tundra. Tormenting insects keep caribou on the move, searching wildly for windy areas. Every night, I feel you rise and migrate through this house alone. How long can you possibly go at it? How much exhaustion can you take? Year after year, the antlers are grown and shed, then regrown and shed again. My sweet man, let me unburden you. I will eat the meat of that bark. I will hold to you like velvet to the bone. I will lumber to the mountaintop for you. I will give to you my deepest, deepest sleep. November. I see a photo of a moose standing alone in winter and think of you. This is what it is to admit imminence. A frozen tundra laid before us, and our eyes downturned amidst all that falling snow. December. To help you sleep, I tell you about the man who carries a fish daily down to the water, the offering in his bare hands. He waits for the water snake to rise, circle his pant leg, and take the meat. And when it does, I tell you about the slack happiness of the man. This time I'm not telling you a lie. This time it is more true than truth. I know the way the man waits, the faith that courses through him, the fear that quivers the body, the insanity of hope. Tell me, what song do I play to bring you back to me? That's it. I love my time. Thanks for having me, you guys. Thanks for coming. Oh, and if you tuned into our live feed, thanks for joining us. We'll be broadcasting poetry readings as much as we can. So thanks.